Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome to Tuesday, and I hope everybody had an amazing 4-day weekend. Hope you're feeling energized. I hope you took some time off. I hope everybody AR tested, because remember, the homework for reading class is that you AR test. I am going to start checking who is not AR testing, and I'm going to go ahead and send you a private message. So if you have not been AR testing, like the expectations and like your homework says for Fridays, you be on the lookout for a text from me. All right, let's go ahead and get started with today's lesson. So for today's lesson, boys and girls, you are going to need your composition book, okay? And you're also going to need your new packet. So you're going to need the packet that says number 2. So I'm going to give you 45 seconds to take out your new packet, and it's going to be packet number 2. And you're also going to need your composition book. So all I want you to do is take out your composition book and take out your new packet, which is packet number 2. You have 30 more seconds. "15 seconds. You're going to packet number 2, which is your new packet. If you're there, make sure you're sitting tall and slanting towards the screen. And time is up. Let's go ahead and get started. Students will be able to analyze a biography and explain why the author wrote the selection. So what are we reading today, boys and girls? We're reading a biography, and we're going to explain the author's purpose, why he sat down and wrote that selection. So let's start with our key points. What are we doing today? We're going to identify the genre of the selection, and we're going to ask, why did the author write the selection? There's also always a reason, boys and girls, an author sits down and writes a story. What is the reason? How are we going to do that? Well, we need to label the genre. We also need to label the text features, and we have to make sure that we underline important information, and we add a hashtag of the main idea. Remember, it could be 2 to 3 words. It could be 5 words. It does not have to be a complete sentence. Why is this important, boys and girls? What's important to understand the selection and why the author wrote the selection. If we understand what the selection is about and we can retell it to somebody else, that means we understood it. That means we comprehend the selection. And then if I can tell you, boys and girls, the author wrote the selection to persuade me into going to swimming, then I know why the author sat down and wrote the selection. I am going to go ahead and play 2 videos for you, and I want you to keep these 2 questions in mind. I want you to ask and keep in mind, what are migrant workers? So one of these 2 videos is going to tell you what a migrant worker is, and I also want you to think about, who was Cesar Chavez? Who was he? So first question is, who was Cesar Chavez? Second question is, what are migrant workers?
Today, we are going to talk about Cesar Chavez. Cesar Chavez, a migrant farm worker who became an organizer. He fought for farm workers' rights and believed that if everyone worked together, they could be treated more fairly. Let's talk about the history of this American hero. Cesar Chavez was born in 1927 in the United States. His parents had Mexican heritage. Cesar Chavez was a Mexican American. When he was 10, his family moved to California. They worked as migrant farm workers. Even though he was just a boy, Cesar Chavez had to work in the fields with them as well. Migrant workers were workers that had to move from place to place. Life was very hard. Migrant workers were not treated fairly. When he was older, Cesar Chavez wanted to help and bring change. He started to bring people together. He knew that if they worked together, they could fight for their rights and get treated more fairly. He began giving speeches and even led marches and protests. In 1962, Cesar Chavez started a group later called United Farm Workers to fight for better pay and treatment, and it's still around today. In 1965, they led a successful strike against grape growers in Delano, California. A strike is when workers refuse to work until something changes. On a side note, it took 5 years and they never gave up because Cesar Chavez and the United Farm Workers wanted to fight for better treatment and they were not willing to give up. He was a hero. He fought for fair treatment and pay. He believed it was never fair to be mistreated because of your heritage. Cesar Chavez, a migrant farm worker who became an organizer. He fought for farm workers' rights and believed that if everyone worked together, they could be treated more fairly. Thanks so much for watching this video on Cesar Chavez. We hope that it was helpful to you and that you were inspired, and we hope to see you soon.
So boys and girls, I know the first video told me who was Cesar Chavez. So what was he considered? He was considered a hero. Now, why was he considered a hero? What did he do? He fought for the rights. Now, of certain people, who were they? Of migrant farm workers, right? So it's the people who work in farms. So picking up fruits, vegetables, whatever it might be. Now, this next video is going to answer the question, what are migrant workers? Let's go ahead and watch it.
A man known in history who fought for the rights of migrant workers and fasting for a cause? Stay tuned for more as we share interesting facts from the biography of Cesar Chavez. Beginning our teaching with fact number 1, the life of Cesar Chavez began on March 31st, 1927 in Yuma, Arizona. Checking out fact number 2, Cesar Chavez had to leave school at an early age. That was because his family lost everything in the Great Depression and he needed to work to help them make money in farming. With fact number 3, Cesar Chavez learned about migrant workers who moved from farm to make money and they were being treated unfairly. That is where farm workers would work them extremely hard, not giving them breaks, water, or even times to eat. Looking at fact number 4, it is about serving in the Navy. That is where Cesar Chavez enlisted in the Navy in 1946 and would serve in the Navy for 2 years. With fact number 5, Cesar would find love. That is where he would go on to get married to his wife, Helen. They would both have 8 children. With fact number 6, Chavez was known for working with community organizations that fought for the rights of migrant workers seeking fair treatment, insurance, and minimum wages. For example, Chavez was a part of a strike against grape growers that lasted 5 years until they finally gave in, giving workers a contract. Fact number 7 is all about getting attention for his cause by not eating. That is where Cesar Chavez would fast for many days, including standing up for migrant workers having to work around dangerous pesticides in 1988. That is where he would not eat for 36 days on a hunger strike that he called the Fast for Life. For his life works, Cesar Chavez was recognized by the White House as we share our 8th fact. That is where he was honored by President Bill Clinton with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Exploring fact number 9, the life of Cesar Chavez came to an end on April 23, 1993 in San Luis, Arizona. Wrapping things up with our 10th and final fact, the life of Cesar Chavez is honored each year in California. That is where Cesar Chavez Day is celebrated as a state holiday. Well, that is all I have for you, my friend, with interesting facts from the life of Cesar Chavez. If there is anything that you would love to share, let us know right here online. And leave comments on Facebook or...
Okay, boys and girls, so on your new packet, go to page. So first you need a highlighter and your pen or pencil. Remember, it must say packet number 2. And it's the brand new one, the one that your parents just picked up. Okay, so on packet number 2, I want you to go to page 59. So start looking for page 59. And 59 looks something like this. And I want you to start putting your name, your date, and the go. So it's the one that says Star Fridays, page 59. Page 59, packet number 2, and it's the new packet. So today is October 13, 2020. And our goal, boys and girls, we are going to have another test on Friday, which I will talk more about. And our goal is to master, and that's for the end of module. That means that we're done with module 1, is to master our end of module. So I'm going to give you 10 seconds to write your name, date, and go. Page 59, packet number 2. So first of all, I see a title. What does this title say, boys and girls? Cesar Chavez, Influential Hispanics. So I know that this selection is going to be about a what? About a person. Good job. So I'm going to put here genre. And I can already tell, right? It's probably going to be a biography or autobiography. What's the difference between a biography or a biography? A biography is written by another person. For example, if I write a story about Miss Medina, Miss Ramirez, Miss Garza, Miss Ureña, that's a biography. It's written by somebody else. Now, an autobiography is written by that same person. For example, I write a story all about Mrs. Alvarado. I am Mrs. Alvarado. That is an autobiography. If Miss Medina writes a story about herself, that is an autobiography because she's telling you all about herself. Now, as we keep going, I see this text feature. What is this text feature called? It is a photograph. Good job if you said photograph. Now, 4th graders, do we just say photograph and move on? No, we do not. What do? We create a hashtag, and that hashtag has to include what? We're describing what's happening in the photograph, right? So what is happening here? I see, we could infer this is who? We can infer Cesar Chavez. Now, behind him, there's what? There's a lot of people behind him. So I know that in the videos it said that he made strikes against what? Or what did he want? What was his goal? He wanted better pay, right? For who? For migrant farm workers, right? Yes, he wanted them to get paid better. He wanted them to get treated better. So before he did any of this, boys and girls, migrant farm workers weren't any important. People thought that they were just workers, right? So he thought that if he brought awareness to how these people were being treated, that he can change that. And we know, of course, he did, right? So I'm going to put Cesar Chavez. He's surrounded by, what do you think they are? They're probably doing a strike, right? So surrounded by people. Do you think these people agree or disagree with him? They probably agree with him, right? Okay, so let's start looking. Is there any other text features we should label? I know that was part of our steps. No, there is not, right? Okay, Cesar Chavez, I know it's a person, so I'm going to put here person because remember we have to send them the title. Influential Hispanic. What does it mean to be influential? It's a person that makes a difference, right? So I'm going to put here person that makes a difference. Now, what does it mean by Hispanics? This one's plural. What does it mean by Hispanics? It's a heritage of a person, right? So I'm going to draw a little arrow here because it doesn't fit. I'm going to put the heritage of a person. So we know that Cesar Chavez was a Hispanic. That's his heritage. All right, there is no other text features. I do know that this is probably going to be a biography or autobiography, but I need to start reading in order to determine that. And I'm going to park my pencil. Remember, as a good reader, I read it once, then I read it again to highlight and do my hashtag as my main idea. So I'm going to start reading. I want everybody tracking, and we are starting. Cesar Chavez is known as a leader and activist. Oh, boys and girls, look what this says. Cesar Chavez is known as a leader and activist. So what is this election about? Is it about a who or a what? It's about a who. Who is my who? Cesar Chavez. What about him? He was known. What was he known as? Leader and activist. Boys and girls, is this using the words I, me, or my? Is it first person point of view? I, me, or my? No, right? It's talking third person. It's saying Cesar Chavez is known as a leader and activist. So it's talking in third person. So boys and girls, what is the genre? Is it a biography or autobiography? Did he write this himself? No. So it's not an autobiography. So then it's a biography. Yes. Just by reading that first sentence, I found out it is a biography. Now, I know that biographies are packed with a ton of important information because it's about a person, right? It's about a real person that made a difference. So here the author is trying to give us, what do you think the author is trying to do in this selection? Why did he write it? He's trying to tell us more about Cesar Chavez, right? So that we can know who he was. Okay, let's continue reading. Cesar Estrada Chavez was born March 31, 1927 in Arizona. What does this sentence tell me? When he was born, right? Do I have to keep highlighting Cesar Chavez? I don't, right? I already did it once. I know this is going to talk about a who. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's write hashtag. I know I have a who. And it's Cesar Chavez. Let's continue. He was the son of Juana Estrada and Librado Chavez, and he had a very busy and tough life. What does this sentence tell us? It's telling us his parents, right? So he was a son of, so it tells us the name of his dad, and then the name of his mother, and he also describes them. How was Cesar Chavez's life? It was very busy, and it was a tough life, boys and girls. So I can already start inferencing that probably Cesar Chavez went through a lot of things, right? Because that's what that sentence told me. He had a busy and tough life. Let's continue. Cesar grew up on his family's farm with 4 siblings. So boys and girls, what did this sentence tell me? Where he grew up. Where did he grow up? In a farm, right? Okay. After his father lost the farm in the Great Depression of 1929, seeing his family having to work as a migrant workers and being paid just enough to not starve led him to becoming an activist later on in life. So boys and girls, what is this sentence about? This one's talking about the Great Depression of 1929. And I know in the video it told us what was the Great Depression, right? It was a time where a lot of people went through very tough times. They were losing their jobs. They were losing their homes. They didn't have enough money to eat. They didn't have money to support their families. So it was a very tough time, right? And it was called the Great Depression. Now, during that time, what happened to Cesar Chavez? What did he see his family? They had to work, right? What did they work as? Migrant workers. Remind me what a migrant worker was or is? A migrant worker is somebody who moves to somewhere else to work, right? So kind of like if maybe you know somebody who's a migrant worker. You live here in the valley, but you travel to California to pick berries, or you travel somewhere else to pick the fruit of the season. That's what a migrant worker does, right? Now, what happened as a migrant worker? They were what? They just got paid enough for what? To not starve. So boys and girls, if they're paying them enough to not starve, we could infer that they're getting paid a lot or a little bit. A little bit, right? Okay. So led him to become an activist later on in life. So boys and girls, because he saw his parents work, being migrant workers and getting paid very little, what did it lead him to? What was the effect of him seeing his parents suffered? The effect is that he became an activist, right? I'm going to make a little note for me. So this was the cause. What was the cause? Well, there was a Great Depression. His parents had to work as migrant workers. They had a farm before. They were good. But then the Great Depression happened. They lost the farm. They had to work as migrant workers. So what was the effect of that? Well, the effect was that Cesar Chavez became an activist. And what was an activist? What does an activist do? So an activist is somebody who stands up for people's rights, right? In this case, he stood up for migrant workers' rights. Okay, let's keep going. After spending 2 years in the Navy, he started as a farmer and later on became the most well-known Latino American civil rights activist. So what happened, boys and girls? What had happened in his life? He spent 2 years in the Navy, so that means that he enrolled into the military. And then what did he do? He started as a farmer. Remember, that's one of the things he had already done. He started as a farmer, and later, don't forget the word later, he became what? The most well-known Latino American civil rights activist. So he wasn't just an activist. He was the most well-known Latino American civil rights activist. So let's see. What was this whole section about? Remember, section is just a part of the whole story of the selection. So Cesar Chavez, he's known as a leader, as an activist. He was born March 31, 1927 in Arizona. He was the son of Juana Estrada and Librado Chavez. He had a very busy and tough life. He grew up on a family's farm, but after the Great Depression of 1929, his family had to start working as migrant workers. That was the cause. What was the effect of that? Well, they didn't get paid enough, so he became an activist. He went to the Navy for 2 years and he started back as a farmer, and later he was known as the most well-known Latino American civil rights activist. So boys and girls, what do you think my hashtag should be? Remember, my hashtag has to be the main idea of this paragraph. First of all, it's about a who or a what. It's about a who, right? So I'm going to write here Cesar Chavez. What about him, boys and girls? What did this section tell me that he did or he was known? He was a leader and an activist. Good. So Cesar Chavez was a leader and activist. All right, boys and girls, so we are going to go ahead and read the rest in class. I do want to make sure that you have your composition with you. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds to copy this, and then I'm going to give you further instructions. Alrighty, boys and girls. So before you leave the live session, the pre-recorded session, I need you to have a composition book in front of you. And then I also need you to have your agenda in front of you. Okay. So on your agenda, I need you to go to page 17. So page 17 is the one that says Wit and Wisdom Assessments. If you have a highlighter, you may highlight it. So right now we are in our agenda, page 17. And I want you to start putting your name. So put your name here. So all you're doing is going to your agenda, going to page 17, and writing your name. Okay. On this first one, I want you to write Module 1. The topic was A Great Heart. Now, the end of module we are going to take this Friday, boys and girls. So I want you to put here, this is going to be on October 16, 2020. So this is going to be pending. But I did send you your grade for your BWA. So on the bottom, I want you to put, so I'm going to give you 15 more seconds to copy that. So all you're doing is writing your name. Make sure you're on page 17, the one that says Wit and Wisdom Assessments. You're writing Module 1 because we're barely going to finish Module 1 on Friday, which is why you're going to have a test. Your end of module date, October 16, 2020. Make sure you're on time. And then go all the way to the bottom. So I want you to put BWA 1, BWA 2, and BWA 3. You've had 3 BWAs. I want you to put a little star here because your parents do have to sign it. They must sign it. They need to know your grade, boys and girls. The first one, the genre was informational because it was about the Circular story. The second ones were fiction. It was about Love That Dog, and it had poem in there, which are fiction. I sent you 3 grades on Friday. I will give you more information on the life. For now, I'm going to give you 15 more seconds. I'm going to zoom out so that you can see everything that is on page 17 of your tracker. If you've already written everything down and you were on watching this video by yourself, you may log out and I will see you in the live session. Everybody else, you have 10 seconds. Alrighty, boys and girls, that concludes the pre-recorded session. Remember, you need this story in front of you, your agenda, and your composition. So these 3 things in front of you. I'll see everybody in class.